Welcome to another edition of Hunt to Eat's Community Kitchen. I'm Michael Cravens, and duck season is right around the corner. Duck hunters are among the most hardcore of all hunters. These guys don't get up at 4 a.m., they get up at 2 a.m. They haul loads of equipment out into freezing cold water where they sit for hours on end for just a few birds. I do not count myself among these guys. Fortunately, though, I have good buddies that are among them. And lucky for me, they let me tag along sometimes. Duck is probably one of my favorite wild meats. It's rich, it's flavorful, it's unique. You know what you're eating when you're eating duck. And probably my favorite way to eat it is smoked. So that's what we're going to do here today. Now, I am pulling from a couple different recipes here. But this first part, our brine, is from Hank Shaw's Duck, Duck, Goose. Now, that is a book that should be on every serious waterfowler's bookshelf. But you can also find it at honest-food.net. It's really just a quarter cup of kosher salt, 1 teaspoon of Instacure No. 1, along with 4 cups of water. Combine your ingredients and simply stir until dissolved. As soon as my brine's ready, I like to add a tray of ice cubes to cool it down. Now, that's of course going to offset the amount of water I used and kind of mess up my measurements. So all I do there is turn my quarter cups and my teaspoons into heaping quarter cups and heaping teaspoons. Not a perfect system. Measurements in brines are important, so I recommend following the directions, but this has worked for me so far. Having placed my 3 teal and my 1 mallard in my brine, I'm going to weigh it down. I'm just using a plate and a bowl of water here, and then I'm going to carefully put that in the refrigerator and leave it overnight. Now the next morning, you're going to want to get started, giving yourself ample time to dry your birds out. Set them out in a cool, breezy area, let them dry. And in the meantime, while that's happening, let's go make our glaze. Now, this glaze is from a friend of mine who brought a smoked duck he called Tequila Sunrise smoked duck to a New Year's Eve wild game potluck I held in my home. It was fantastic, and that's why I'm trying to recreate it here. Ultimately, the only ingredients are marmalade, he used homemade, I have store-bought, and tequila. We'll say roughly 2 parts marmalade to 1 part tequila. So combine these ingredients, turn your stove top to a low heat, give it a bit of a mix, and bring it to a simmer. Allow this to simmer until it gets to a consistency that you like. Once you're there, simply remove and set aside. Now back to our ducks. Our ducks have set out for about 3 hours in a cool, breezy area. They're dry to the touch, and now I'm going to take and we're going to baste these with our tequila marmalade glaze. We're going to give them a good coat before we put them in the smoker, and then we're going to continue to baste them about every 30-40 minutes throughout the duration in the smoker. So for this project, I'm using a propane smoker. It's an important note to have a drip pan beneath your ducks because they are going to render out a lot of fat and you're going to need to catch that fat in something. I'm also smoking these ducks on mesquite. Now, it has been warned by those much more experienced than I that mesquite is too strong of a wood for ducks. Well, I like rich smoky flavors. I also appreciate the fact that these ducks were killed in the Southwest amongst mesquite, and they're basted in tequila. So I'm keeping it Southwest and I'm going with mesquite. Now, once again, we're going to want to baste these birds about every 30 or 40 minutes throughout the duration of their cook time. And between those basting sessions, I like to leave my glaze sitting on top of my smoker. It keeps it handy, it keeps it warm, and it keeps it a nice loose consistency. Of course, use good judgment here. This isn't going to work for everybody and on every smoker, so don't set anything on fire. Now, smoking times are going to be variable. Obviously, the lower temperature you smoke these birds at, the longer it's going to take, and conversely, the higher the temperature, the faster. I'm going to give a baseline and say 250 degrees for about 3 to 3.5 hours, maybe 4. Obviously, my teal are going to come off sooner than my larger mallard. As you can see here, we're already surpassed a target temperature of around 170 degrees. So therefore, I'm going to go ahead and pull my teal and let my mallard go for probably another solid 30 minutes before it'll come to temperature. So here we are at our finished product. You should definitely let your bird sit around 15 minutes to cool off a little bit and stabilize. I was quickly running out of natural light, so I jumped right into it. And if you can't tell, this bird is hot and I'm struggling handling it. But oh my gosh, look at that smoke ring. There is so much you can do with a smoked duck. You can serve it hot as the centerpiece of a meal right off the smoker. You can carve it into bite-sized pieces and serve it with cheeses, grapes, and crackers on an appetizer platter like I did in this case. Or you can just serve it up on sandwiches a week later. Regardless of what you do with it, it's going to be delicious. Again, this is one of my very favorite meals, and when you combine it with this tequila marmalade glaze, it simply doesn't get much better. So go get some ducks this year, smoke them up, try this glaze. I promise you're going to love it. That's delicious. Wishing you a very happy and successful fall hunting season. My name is Michael Cravens, and this has been Hunt Eats Community Kitchen.